Hello, my students, class 9. Today, again, I want to discuss with the Gupta Dynasty, and today the topic is development in the field of religion. Listen carefully, my students. Development in the fields of religion, culture, and architecture. Development in the fields of religion, culture, and architecture during the Gupta age. Now, my students, first of all, the very important thing is the Gupta age is known as the age of the Brahmanical revival, because we know that after the Vedic age, my students, listen carefully, all of us we know that after the Vedic age, the people were really disgusted with the strong rituals, stringent method of the society. The common people were very much the sufferer. After that, the Buddhism and the Jainism ushered in the society, Indian society. People embraced mainly Buddhism, but gradually Brahmanism revived, and Gupta age was the great patron of Brahmanical culture. So, as a result of that, we came to see that in the society, the people, the Gupta rulers, they adopted the Sanskrit language. The Sanskrit language. So the Gupta age is also known as the era of Brahmanical revival. The Brahmanical religion, the Sanskrit, the revival of Brahmanical religion and Sanskrit language. Now, the Brahmanical religion, Sanskrit, the sacred language of the Buddhism was of the Hindus, were revived. Temples were dedicated. My student, look at the board. Temples were dedicated to Vishnu, Shiva, and Lakshmi. Temples were dedicated to Vishnu, Shiva, and Lakshmi. Now, my students, listen carefully that Lakshmi was worshipped as a consort of Vishnu and Parvati as the consort of Shiva. Emergence of the Bhakti became a unifying factor between Vaishnavism and Shaivism. Fayen, the Chinese pilgrim, made a mention of religious toleration of the Gupta rulers. That is, though the Gupta rulers were the patron of the Brahmanism, but still they were tolerant to all the religions. Now, and Fayen, we have to depend very much on the account of Fayen. From the account of Fayen, it is clear to us that during the Gupta age, we came to know about the tolerance of all the religion. Now, architecture of the temples. Now then, the architecture of the temples, beginning of a new style of the temple architecture. During the Gupta age, there was the beginning of a new style of temple architecture. Now, with the revival of Hinduism, worship of images became an important feature. Now, with the revival of Hinduism during the Gupta age, we came to know that there was a revival of Hinduism, and we know, all of my students, we know that as during Buddhism, Jainism, they did not prefer any idol worship, but just you notice the difference. But in the Gupta age, there was the tendency for the image worship. Worship of images became an important feature of Hindu ritual. A large number of temples were built of stone and mortar. A large number of temples were built of brick, stone, and mortar. Now, and temples were built. Naturally, the question comes to our mind, what were the idols, images that the people preferred during the Gupta age? Now, the people preferred, that is the Dashavatara temple, also known as Vishnu temple at Devghar near Jhansi, and the people started to worship Vishnu, Shiva, Lakshmi. These were the popular god and goddesses. What were the places where the temples were built? The Dasavatara temple, also known as Vishnu temple at Devghar near Jhansi, and the Bitargaon temple near Kanpur are fine examples of the excellence of the Gupta architecture. My students, page P74, mark in your book that the Dasavatara temple, also known as the Vishnu temple at Devghar near Jhansi, and the Bitargaon temple near Kanpur are the fine examples of the excellence of the Gupta architecture. Now, my students, all of my students, look at the book, that is Vishnu temple at Devghar. Very important is Vishnu temple at Devghar. And now, the Vishnu temple at Devghar was constructed in the 6th century. The temple marked a transition. So, Vishnu temple at Devghar constructed in the 6th century. It was constructed in the 6th century. Now, my student, Vishnu temple at Devghar was constructed in the 6th century. The temple marked a transition from the early flat roof temples to the latter style with shikara or a tower. The temple, because in the Gupta period we saw all the temples followed a sculpture which was totally Indian in character. The temple marked a transition from the early flat roof temples to the latter style with a shikara or a tower. It stands on a wide platform approached by flights of steps on the four sides. The platform is decorated with sculptures. So, a skilled sculpture. In the Gupta age, we witnessed a skilled sculpture style, architectural style, showing scenes from the life and actions of Lord Rama and Lord Krishna, which inspired Indian artists in all ages. So it became a part of Indian strong heritage, because in the sculptures we witness all the life and scenes, actions of Lord Rama and Lord Krishna. An important sculpture shows Hanumana bringing the whole hill containing herbs that cured Lakshmana of the mortal wound caused by Meghananda, the son of Ravan. So these are it became a part of the Indian heritage, and it told us about the significance of the Indian horns, the medical value. The inner chamber or the Garbha Griha was surrounded by 4 portions dedicated to Lord Vishnu. The deity is depicted as Shehashi sleeping on the coil of the serpent called Shehashnaga. The shikara of the temple is only partly preserved. It was probably pyramidal in elevation. At the top, it is the shape of the pyramid. Now, my students, after that, come to the point, the Gupta sculpture. The Greek influence on Indian art had completely disappeared during the Gupta period. In the Gupta period, previously in Indian architecture, during the several dynasties, there was the evidence of the Greek sculpture, but that Greek sculpture influence on Indian art had completely disappeared during the Gupta period. The sculpture adopted a totally Indian style. That sculpture adopted a totally Indian style. Now, uh, my students, then the sculpture adopted totally Indian character. A large number of images of Buddha, Bodhisattvas, Vishnu, Shiva, and other Brahmanical god and goddesses made of stone and bronze have been discovered in Sarnath and Mathura. So, a large number of images of the god and goddesses made of stone and bronze. So, the Gupta people during the Gupta age, mainly the emperors were patrons of, they were fond of worship and religion. Now, among the images of Buddha discovered at Sarnath near Varanasi, the most outstanding is the image of seated Buddha. Most important was the image of seated Buddha. It is popularly known as preaching Buddha, who is delivering his first sermon, and his disciples were listening to him with folded hands. This was a wonderful image of seated Buddha. After attaining sermon, he was preaching his disciples. The image looks serene. That is a very quiet and a peaceful picture of Buddha, showing a young face with half-closed eyes and a calm smile. The statue was made of sandstone. It was a unique feature of a statue of Buddha and a part of Indian culture and heritage. Now, golden age of Indian culture, the Gupta era is known as the golden age of Indian culture and civilization. The mighty Gupta rulers Samudragupta and Chandragupta II, also known as Vikramaditya, established political unity and brought economic prosperity to nation. So in the during the age of the Gupta rule, not only in culture and civilization, in sculpture, also in literature, economic prosperity everywhere, and the rulers like Samudragupta and Chandragupta too, they gave political unity to India. The Brahmanical religion and culture had reached the zenith of its glory. The Gupta era came to be known as the golden age of Indian culture. Now, after that, my students, in my next class I will discuss about the question answers of this chapter. This is the end of the chapter. So at the end I want to mention that the golden age of Indian culture, the Gupta age, is known as the golden age of Indian culture and civilization. In case of political unity and economic prosperity, and also golden age in the development of the Sanskrit literature. Okay, my student, wish you all the best. Thank you.